So there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6 editions of The Hobbit here. 5 are great, one of them I would totally avoid. Hey everyone, this is James from Brewing Books. So following last week's video where we looked at several editions of The Lord of the Rings, it was only fitting that the next video to follow would be one where we compare editions of The Hobbit. But before we continue, a quick reminder that my new poetry book, Anarchy for the Innocents, is available today from Amazon and Amazon UK. Just follow the link down below. So we will be looking at 6 particular editions of The Hobbit. I'll be going through each of them one by one, comparing their aesthetic qualities combined with reading practicality, and some general comments on whether or not they are fit for your collection. So the first copy I wanted to show you is this 2002 paperback version. I love this particular edition and range, but unfortunately they do not publish them anymore. This, together with my 3-volume collection of The Lord of the Rings from the same edition, was my first introduction to the world of Middle-earth through the written page. I have read this book time after time, and it's my go-to copy whenever I decide to sit down and read The Hobbit. You can actually see the creases along the spine, just as a demonstration of how much I have read this particular copy of the book, despite the care and love I have given this particular copy. I cannot emphasize how comfortable and convenient it is to actually read from these particular editions. I just love the minimalist cover with Tolkien's rendition of Smaug, and as you can see, it is a very plain cover indeed, with a few runic inscriptions appearing on the cover as they are reflected on the light, and some scenery again designed by Tolkien himself. And what's particularly interesting about these specific runes, which can be seen also in other books such as The Lord of the Rings and The Silmarillion from this range of editions, is that you can actually translate these runes. And if you use Tolkien's dwarvish rune alphabet as found in The Hobbit, you'll be able to actually translate these words. So that's something extra to go along with the book itself. So this contains obviously the full unabridged text, and as you can see, the print quality is rather sufficient. Obviously throughout the years the pages have yellowed, unfortunately, but that is the fate of most paperback books. We also have illustrations by Tolkien. The print quality is nothing out of this world, but it's still a very, very fine print, and the illustrations are quite pleasant to look at, even though they are in black and white. Next up we have this 2004 copy from the Deluxe edition collection. This actually forms part of a box set which includes the single volume edition of The Lord of the Rings together with The Silmarillion, The Hobbit and The Children of Húrin. Now, as with all Tolkien Deluxe books, you can never go wrong with these kinds of editions. The paper quality, the print reproduction, the aesthetic, the design, the collectible value. It even smells delicious. It's all here in this neatly slipcased book, so if we extract the book from its slipcase, we'll see the similar design as with the 2002 paperback with the rendition of Smaug the Dragon by Tolkien himself. And as I said, with this particular edition, you have the paper quality, the print reproduction, it's all there. It's all in the quality of the book, besides the story itself, obviously. These deluxe editions are the perfect collectibles. The only slight letdown, if we can call it that, but it's ultimately up to personal preference, is the white sheets of paper. I personally prefer cream-colored pages in books, but this certainly doesn't detract from the value of the book. And the fact that the paper itself is acid-free paper, the print quality is stunning, and you also have reproductions of the map at the back and some illustrations by Tolkien. And the fact that this particular edition also contains colored paintings by Tolkien, and the reproduction is stunning. So with regards to the illustrations, as we can see here, these are printed on thick paper. I mean, what else is there to say about this book? It's stunning. It's simply stunning. And to add to all this, we also have a reproduction of Thor's map in this fold-out manner, which I find very convenient, especially when I'm reading the book and referencing the map as I go along with the story. And this has an additional nice touch with the secret runes printed at the back of the map. So when you actually put this in front of a light source, it shines. The secret runes shine at the back of the map. So very cool. So next up on the list we have The Hobbit from the 2020 illustrated box set with some stunning artwork by Alan Lee. So if you're looking to buy your first ever copy of The Hobbit or have outused your previous copy of The Hobbit, this should be the version to go for. I would suggest this to go both for your reading purposes and also for collectible purposes. I mean, it's very easy to read, it's very practical, even though it's a hardback. The paper quality is stunning and you have several paintings and also sketches by Alan Lee, which further complements the book itself. And what I love about this book is actually the cream colored pages as well, which I think gives it a sense of antiquity and vibe that The Hobbit truly deserves. You can see further paintings by Alan Lee. That is the encounter of Smeagol with the Hobbit Bilbo. This is a stunning release, and the publishers really did do an excellent job in creating this edition. And again, the paper, as I said, has this cream color with some really nice smooth texture to it. And I just love this kind of paper, and the print quality is superb. And something else which I particularly love, which is not to be found in other editions, is that the artworks have been printed on the same type of paper rather than that glossy, thicker kind, which I personally prefer, as it gives this a cohesive look throughout the entire book. And as with the 2004 Deluxe edition, we also have, in this case, a reproduction of Thor's map on the front cover. This is how the book looks without the dust jacket. Just gorgeous, just with the gold foil author's name and title of the book. And we also have the map of Wilderland, the back cover. And there goes Bilbo in Mirkwood Forest. So as I said before, if this is your first time reading The Hobbit, or you do not own a copy of The Hobbit, or have decided to buy a new version both for reading and for collecting, this is the one to go for. Now, this is an interesting one. This is from, I believe, 2018, and this is actually a facsimile copy of the first edition of The Hobbit. So, in case you're not aware, when Tolkien first wrote The Hobbit back in 1937, obviously there was no plan to write any sequel to it, which would eventually become The Lord of the Rings. But when that happened, and when Lord of the Rings was published in the early 50s, Tolkien had to actually go back to the original story of The Hobbit and tweak a few things, shall we say, in order to make it more in line with the story that would eventually develop into The Lord of the Rings. So for instance, there is more emphasis on the ring, especially when it comes to the 5th chapter in the Hobbit book, Riddles in the Dark. And in fact, there are some quite significant differences in certain parts of the narrative between the first edition of The Hobbit, which this particular edition replicates, and the second edition version of The Hobbit, which is replicated, the text is replicated in all the other versions and editions of The Hobbit. So if you are particularly interested in knowing how The Hobbit actually began as, this would actually be an interesting read. Now, this particular edition comes in this neat little slipcase, which unfortunately I have to say is a bit tricky to extract the book from. For some reason it's very tight, and it makes it quite impossible to remove the book, so this might take a while. Nearly there. Okay, I don't know why it's this tight actually. I don't know if it's this particular copy or if it's an issue with every kind of first edition facsimile from 2018. But anyway, so if we put the slipcase aside, we have the book itself, and this is meant to be a facsimile reproduction of the book as it was originally published back in 1937. So we have the dust jacket with Tolkien's artwork of the Misty Mountains and the Forest of Mirkwood. And we actually had to remove the dust jacket. We find this cloth-bound cover with Tolkien's rendition of Smaug once again, and inside we have the reproduced text, the first edition text, together with the usual maps. And this also includes the red and black ink on the maps, which reproduces faithfully the original edition. Thor's map at the beginning as well. And there are also some illustrations to be found in the book as drawn by Tolkien himself. But again, as you can see, this particular use of this glossy white paper, I'm not personally a fan of, but it's a good way to know when an artwork is coming up as you read along. So, but it's ultimately up to personal preference. Yes, I would give this a read again if you're interested in knowing more about how the Hobbit was originally conceived and written, and to actually compare that to the second edition, the one where we're accustomed to ultimately, and notice the differences and similarities between the two texts. So this is for the hardcore Tolkien reader who's interested in collecting a facsimile version of the first edition of The Hobbit. And here we've got what is perhaps my favorite from all the lot. So this is the 70th anniversary edition of The Hobbit. It is in hardback, and it replicates the original dust jacket design from the first edition of The Hobbit, as we have seen in the previous facsimile version. And besides the dust jacket, it sports this gorgeous black minimalist design as cover without any text, except obviously on the spine itself. I simply love these editions. I'm sure you're aware of that by now, especially from previous videos. And just the entire presentation of the book is gorgeous, simply gorgeous. And once again, inside, as we open up the book, you're greeted with this gorgeous cream-colored page. And again, the only downside is that this includes artwork which has been printed on this glossy paper. Again, it's subjective. It's not my personal favorite. I love that consistency, as we saw from the Alan Lee artwork edition. I still find this particular edition to be my absolute favorite. All in all, I feel that this particular book offers a balance between a collectible item and something practical to actually be able to read. And if you notice, it's very easy to open up the book. Even with regards to the text, it is printed with enough margins to allow you to open the book, not too much to break the spine or anything, but actually to make it readable and ultimately enjoyable. So yeah, this is the 70th anniversary edition of the book, and it was published back in 2007. And finally, we have this. What a disappointment. And no, I have not done any harm to this particular book whatsoever. What you see here is simply the effect of time and perhaps poor marketing. So imagine my excitement some 10 years ago now when I realized that they were releasing a pocket edition of The Hobbit as a deluxe leather-bound version. Not only that, but it contained the full text and gold-edged pages. I just couldn't say no, and the size, actually, it's extraordinary how the text has been replicated. And I have to say it's very, very legible and clear, and the print quality is fantastic. The artwork, not so much. I mean, considering the size of the book, you wouldn't imagine anything higher than just the average print quality. But other than that, the text is very, very legible. And we also, as I said, we also have these beautiful gold edge pages, which gives the book a remarkable look. And it's small, it's light, it's easy to read and to carry. And it ultimately lives up to its name as being a pocket book. But obviously, as you can see, the big letdown is the leather bound cover. So it all started at the edges right here. It started to flake off one by one, piece by piece, little by little, until it eventually spread over all around the book. And I have to say, it looks like in a very, very sorry state, which is a big disappointment personally, considering that leather, as far as I am aware, is not supposed to do that. And I've actually heard some other people who have complaints of this happening to their own pocket deluxe edition versions of The Hobbit. So I would strongly advise you to avoid this if you can, or else get your own copy and wait for it to become like this. It gives off that feeling of an old library book, which somehow justifies the story inside it, but still it doesn't make for a very pleasant book to look at, especially when compared to the rest of your collection. Just remember to clean up all the leftover flakes and fragments afterwards. And one final note about another edition which I do not own, but from what I've seen looks absolutely stunning. And that's the 2013 illustrated edition by Jemima Catlin. The artwork on both paperback and hardback editions is tremendous, and I'd really love to get a copy of the book to add to my collection one day. And if you do have this edition, please do let me know in the comments below what you think about it. So that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please do let me know in the comments below which favorite edition of The Hobbit you have and you love to read and collect. And before I go, another quick reminder that my new poetry book Anarchy for the Innocents is available on Amazon and Amazon UK. Info on the link down below. In the meantime, thank you for watching. Like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Cheers!